Hi, and welcome back to the 2024 SEVA Awards celebration. I'm Taya from Bell Avenue Elementary School, and today is day 2, celebrating our finalists in preparation for this year's SEVA Award Night. As you know, each day this week at 5 p.m., finalists will be announced here on SECC Comcast Channel 16. You can also live stream the announcements on SECC website. Make sure to connect with us online by using the hashtag SEVA Awards. Today, we're announcing the SEVA 2024 finalists in the documentary category. This category includes videos of any length that provide an in-depth educational look at topics such as classroom curriculum, people and current events, or history. Let's take a look at this year's documentary finalists. In the grades 4 to 6 documentary category, the finalists are being the announcer for the Sac Kings, Del Paso Manor Elementary School. The Elk Grove House, Florence Markofer Elementary School. The Future of Agriculture Starts Here, Florence Markofer Elementary School. Helping to Conserve Energy at Sac State, Del Paso Manor Elementary School. The Military is More Than War, Del Paso Manor Elementary School. Minecraft Popularity, Del Paso Manor Elementary School. NorCal Renaissance Fair, Del Paso Manor Elementary School. The Theater is a Magical Place, Del Paso Manor Elementary School. Why Food Nutrition is Important, Florence Markofer Elementary School. In the grades 7 to 8 documentary category, the finalists are Barrett's Food Waste, John Barrett Middle School. Capitol Air Show, Catherine L. Albiani Middle School. ChatGPT in School, Folsom Middle School. How COVID-19 Affected Education in 2020, Andrew Carnegie Middle School. My Epic Tale About Diabetes, John Barrett Middle School. Phones and Fights, Will Rogers Middle School. The Detrimental Treatment of Left-Handed People, Catherine L. Albiani Middle School. The Effects of Gaming, Will Rogers Middle School. Trinity, Dawn of the Nuclear Age, Winston Churchill Middle School. Vaping is a Big No-No, Andrew Carnegie Middle School. In the grades 9 to 12 documentary category, the finalists are America's Dream, Del Campo High School. Behind the Wave of Decay, Del Campo High School. Cell Phones, Galt High School. Explore Clubs at Galt High School, Galt High School. Film Slide Documentary, Center High School. From Doubt to Devotion, A Mother's Story, Del Campo High School. Lunar New Year, Pleasant Grove High School. Mr. Bader's Expedition Baja, Del Campo High School. Seasonal Depression, Del Campo High School. The Square Root of Math Struggles, El Camino Fundamental High School. The School Monitor That Made a Difference, Del Campo High School. Tubbs Fire Documentary, Rio Americano High School. There you have it, the 2024 Student Educational Video Awards documentary finalists. Well done and congratulations. Those are just the highlights. We've got the full finalist videos ready to roll next. Remember, the winning videos will be announced at Award Night on Sunday, April 28th at Hiram Johnson High School. Be sure to RSVP the big night online at the SECC website. We're looking forward to seeing you and your family at the 2024 SEVA Awards.
We are both Kings fans, and we had an opportunity to talk to the Kings announcer, Scott Moak. We talked to him about his job and responsibilities for the SEVAs.
First, my name is Scott Moak. I am the public address announcer for your and everybody's Sacramento Kings. Fun job. The public address announcer for 22 years, so almost twice as long as you've been alive. And it's been one of the coolest things I've ever done because I love the Kings and I love Sacramento, and it's just super fun.
First, we asked him if he was a Kings fan prior to getting
100% yes. So the Sacramento Kings moved here in 1985. So I was just a young tyke at the time. I was about your guys' age. And I became a fan instantly. My dad used to take me to games. I would usually get to go to 2 or 3 games a year. I became a huge fan.
Did you know Scott didn't get the job at first?
So I became the Sacramento Kings announcer after a tryout back in 2002. So that's 22 years ago. A bunch of us tried out. It was a really fun experience. Lots of people trying to ultimately get the job. I didn't get it at first, actually. I did not get the job. They didn't give it to me. And then 2 years later called back and said, hey, we'd like you to have this job. So that's when I started.
Since there are tons of cool things about being the King's announcer, we asked him his favorite part.
It has been an amazing ride doing all these fun things that I get to do. I've gotten to interview a lot of players. I've gotten to do some things connected to the community and do some really important work in the community with the Kings. So that's been a great part of the growth of my job.
Do you know the origin story of the Keegan-Murray chant and the Domantas-Sabonis song?
Happening side by side. Keegan-Murray. We used to have a guy, the Kings, you remember, the Kings used to have a guy named Yogi Ferrell. And when he was on the team, I used to say, Yogi, and I didn't exactly know what I wanted to happen, actually, but everybody replied with Ferrell, so I thought that was cool. And so when we drafted Keegan-Murray, right about where we're standing on draft day, I decided, hey, maybe I'll try this. I'll do something a little different. So I yelled out, guess who we drafted? Keegan. And there it was born. So we kept doing it. It's super fun to have the crowd do it. They in a way, they're also public address announcers, so that's kind of cool. They're helping me out. The Domantas song, it really came because it just sounds cool. That song is super neat. He likes it. The fans like it. Everybody's into it now. I'm glad it became something.
Next, we asked the question everybody wants to know. Who came up with the beam?
And a guy named John Reinhardt, he's the president of the Kings. He used to talk about the fact that he remembered seeing a light on the Anaheim Angels, the baseball team, California Angels, a long time ago. And when they would win, they would light up a logo outside of the stadium. He always loved that and wondered if we could do something similar here in Sacramento.
Scott has announced 1,000 games, but which one was his favorite?
I would say that the game that the Kings stayed in Sacramento, because there was a chance, if some of you remember, that the Kings were going to move. We were going to go to Seattle or Virginia Beach or Anaheim even. And so once we knew and learned that the Kings were in fact going to stay in Sacramento, that first game back at the old arena was probably unlike anything I ever experienced.
We asked Scott what questions he asked the MVP of the game after every win.
I would say that, the questions I try to ask is, one, a little bit about the game, two is a little bit about the, what they contributed, and three, I always end with a question about the crowd and how great the crowd is, because everybody goes crazy and then they light that beam.
There are more than 500 NBA players. How does he pronounce everybody's name right?
Watch SportsCenter. I watch as much basketball as I can, get to know the guys, look online, do different, I also ask. I'll ask a player, I'll ask the people that work for the team if I'm getting it right. If I'm not, I change it. I really, as a public address announcer, just have one job, and it's to get the names right.
Finally, we asked if he had anything extra to share with us.
Well, I am just I admire you guys a lot for doing this project. I love SEVA. I love young people that are doing this kind of work. It's really important because you guys will be the future of multimedia and video and all the things moving forward. So I'm just honored to be part of this, and I wish you guys nothing but the luck, and go Kings.
Have you ever wondered how Minecraft became the most popular video game ever? In this video, we will be exploring the reason behind Minecraft's popularity. Did you know that the creeper, which is a hostile mob within the game, actually helped Minecraft rise to the top due to its unique appearance and behavior? According to Quora.com, creepers have a distinctive style and an ability to sneak up on other players. This offers players an element of surprise and challenge to their gameplay. Minecraft is extremely popular with children, young adults, and adults alike. Due to its sandbox nature, meaning you can imagine it, you can build with the game's Lego-like blocks. Minecraft allows creativity and adventure. It also lets players play together in the same world. Minecraft players like how each world they make is different. During a weekend event, the creator of Mojang Studios revealed that Minecraft had sold more than 300 million copies worldwide. Streaming in general has been transformed by gamers uploading videos, showing off their creations, and sharing tips and tricks with fans. Minecraft's popularity efficiency laid the foundation for streaming foundations like Twitch and set a precedent for more recent games like Fortnite, which have become hugely popular among live streamers.
Hi and welcome to the Elk Grove House. My name's Annabelle and I'll be giving you a tour of this house today. As you can see, it's located on the Lincoln Highway. Did you know that James Hall was the founder of Elk Grove? That's actually pretty cool if you think about it. This house has its very own blacksmith shop and San Joaquin Justice Court. This is the folks' home. It is the oldest remaining original residence in the Elk Grove area. This is the path that goes around the old folks' home. It does need some mending, but it is still beautiful. Let's go inside. Inside, we have the kitchen, an old-fashioned wash tub, an old-fashioned stove, and some very, very cool teacups, in my opinion. This is a Victorian English wash station. Before indoor plumbing, they had to use this to wash stuff. And I think it's a very beautiful piece. In the next room is the living room. And some of these chairs in here are very valuable, not just for their looks, but for how old they are. This is kind of like a timeline, but with bills and papers and other stuff. As you can see, there's some bills in there and a congratulations paper, or whatever it's called. This is an old-fashioned, very expensive rocking chair. I don't know what that table is for, but still. This chair is very, very expensive, for not just for its looks, but for how old it is. This is the child's crib. It was made by Guy Fawkes for his daughter Mary. She was born in this very house that you see. It's just a random chair. This is a yoke. The Fawkes family came overland in a covered wagon in 1853. This was the oxen yoke used during that trip. This is the upstairs. All of the sleeping places are here. This is the covered wagon that the Fawkes family came to Elk Grove in. This is the inside of it. It's very smushed. This is the Valley Oak gazebo. Let's go inside. Here we are in the ladies' parlor. This is where the ladies hung out, and they would keep the ladies separate from the men. men's parlor. Inside the men's parlor, they have a gaming table already set up for a game, a radio station, or I don't actually know what that's called, a fireplace, and a deer's head and some guns, and some beer up there too. This is the bar that they have, and this is a very old piano. Here we are in the Markofer Room. Pam, can you tell us more about this room?
I can. So the Markofer Room was named this because the furniture, the bedroom set, the dressing table, and the dresser were all donated by the Markofer family. We have some interesting items of interest in the room. So we have pictures of the Markofer family up on the mantle. And the quilt is actually, it was not a Markofer quilt, but it was donated by somebody. It was made pre-Civil War, so it's gosh, almost 200 years old. Huh? It's pretty old.
That is pretty old.
The lamp was actually used in a movie and donated by someone else.
That's cool.
So we have a lot of items dating from the period of the 1800s up to the early 1900s in the room. The old shoes and gloves, and of course the women had to wear these cinches. Agreed.
I don't want to wear
we have
those.
an old phonograph and an old treadle sewing machine. So they weren't powered by electricity; they were actually powered by your feet going back and forth. My grandma had one of those.
Mom, it would be way easier to use that one than my one.
It probably is. You can stop and start it a little bit faster. But yes, the Markofers lived in, you have the history timeline, so you can see when the actual dates the Markofers lived in the house. But Florence married into the family, and so, yes, she did live here.
Hello again, Pam. Can you tell us about this section of the ballroom?
All right. In the ballroom, we've set up a history of Elk Grove from 2000 BC to 2000 AD. 2000 BC, Native Americans, the Miwok, were living here. So we have this beautiful display of items, some history, creation story of the valley, some games, some hands-on, some grinding things that people can do. And we go up to 2000 AD because that's when Elk Grove became a city. So a lot of interesting facts. we have on the wall. So we have periods after the Miwok period. We have the Spanish colonial period, because Spain took control of this part of the United States, and then the Mexican period. Mexico took control after Spain, so you probably had that in history class, yeah. And so a little bit of information, the Bear Flag Revolt happened, and I don't know if you learned that the Bear Flag Revolt started right down here on the river.
Really?
Yeah. So Murphy was one of the first settlers in the area, and he had a place along the Cosumnes River and the Monterey Trail, which is now Highway 99. And so the General Fremont what came and instigated with Sutter how to take control of this particular area and create their own state. So they revolted. The Spanish or the Mexicans had brought up some horses, and they were at Murphy's Corral. And so they went down there and let them all out, a bunch of the Californios. And that started the Bear Flag Revolt. They then went down to Sonoma and finished the revolution, and voila, we became a state. So after the Mexican period, we have the early settlers, so talking about James Hall coming in 1850, and other settlers that followed, Harvey and his brother Joseph Kerr. Interesting, we have schools, right?
Yeah.
And they had a lot of property here and, farmed and ranched. So then we go down, I don't know if we want to flip around and... So this particular trunk is an item of interest because that came across the country with James Hall.
Really?
And yeah, that's one of the few possessions we have. It might be the only possession we have of his. So that's an interesting piece. We have some clothes worn during the early period. And we go on to talk about how the railroad. So actually, the house here was the first Elk Grove. James Hall coined it Elk Grove. And then Buckner built a hotel, another stage stop, where Walmart is. And that was called Buckner's. And then a few years after James Hall sold this, Buckner called his place Elk Grove and had a post office there. So that was the second Elk Grove. In 1868, the railroad was put through, but a mile east of Buckner's place on the Kerr property. So eventually the town moved a mile east, and now we have Old Town, and that became the third and final Elk Grove. So an interesting piece of information, I think. So the railroad really changed things. By then, there were a lot of farmers and ranchers around the place, and they needed, merchandise. So the town grew up around the railroad. There was a store put in the railroad station and a post office, and then eventually, a lot of other different businesses. So you'll see that we point out a lot of the businesses, the first theater, the first barber shop. We have the barber chair over there from that first barber shop.
I took a picture of it.
And, the cow palace, which was interesting because the ranchers would bring the cows there to sell for market. But then they would turn that into the theater. That was the first theater in Elk Grove. So it took 2 men 45 minutes to change the theater from an auction yard to a theater.
Really?
Yeah. So they would lower a curtain and put out the chairs, and then they would have a theater. We have a picture of the opening night there. And eventually the theater moved down on Elk Grove Boulevard. And, then housing developed, and we have all the developments that in Elk Grove eventually we expanded, became a city.
I'm interested in that. Do you know about it?
That is an interesting, it's a buckle of some kind. So this was found along the Cosumnes River, and it's believed that when you identify it, it actually was from a military.
Really?
So those buckles were used sometimes on the horse straps, sometimes on the men's straps, and sometimes as a belt buckle. So we're not quite sure. The person that found it thinks it was part of a belt buckle, but it actually came from, we believe, from when General Fremont was here with his men, because it's from that period of time, and that's who was here.
That's really cool.
It is cool.
The kitchen. Inside the kitchen, we have a tall cabinet with fruits and vegetables and other things. We have a old telephone, old fridge. This is actually very old. A sink, and another cabinet with a bunch of stuff that they would actually use in there. Another, it's a stove. A stove. Okay. This is where they would wash their clothes. They would put it in water and rub it on that thing that you saw. Thank you for coming. They will gladly accept donations if you have any.
Did you know that on the Sacramento State College campus, there is a student-founded garden where they grow fruits and veggies to eat? To learn more, we interviewed a garden worker.
There's a lot of Sac State students that are hungry, and so they're able to come to school here, but a lot of times they're not able to get fresh food every day to eat. This garden uses compost that is generated on Sac State's campus. We create food waste from the kitchens here, and then we collect that food waste and we compost it here, and then all of that compost gets used out here in the garden to create new fruits and vegetables with it. So by keeping all of the food waste here on campus and composting it, it sequesters carbon and keeps that here. Also cuts down on the number of trucks that we have to come to campus to pick up our trash and our food waste.
Next, we asked him what the benefits of living in a tiny house were.
Most people have massive houses, and massive houses take up a lot of resources. They use a lot of energy, they use more water, and so the reason that we have a tiny house out here and why living in a tiny house is a good thing is because it reduces your footprint on the environment, so gives you everything you need. You know, like this tiny house, we have a little kitchen, we have a bathroom, we have a shower, we have a bedroom, everything that a huge house would have, but it's in a much smaller footprint and uses a lot less energy, a lot less water, and a lot less materials to build it.
Just like Sac State, you can also help to conserve energy at your very own home. You can start a composting box, grow your own garden, and not waste so much water. You can reach out more at home, discover more ways to help our planet.
Hi everyone! Today I want to share with you why food nutrition is very important for your immune system and your health. Did you know that healthy eating habits prevent a kid's chance of developing health problems? That's why parents tell kids to eat their fruits and vegetables. A healthy diet includes foods from all 5 food groups, which are fruits, vegetables, grains, proteins, and dairy. It is also important to notice foods that are high in sugar, saturated fat, or salt because they aren't necessary for a healthy diet and should be limited. Now that we know a little bit about nutrition, let's go visit the school kitchen to learn more.
Did you know that school nutrition is important for kids?
Well, it provides students with nutritious and appealing foods and beverages and accurate messages about good nutrition. It also teaches them ways to learn about healthy eating practices while they're in school and before or after school.
People think school food programs improve child dietary qualities.
I think so. Improving nutrition quality for students has a positive impact on the children's health and their academic performance. Their minds and body will have the fuel that they need to perform in school. And a lot of children, they eat 2 meals here a day. So if we provide them with lots of fruits and vegetables here, they're going to get a lot of the nutrients that they need throughout the day.
Different ways to provide a healthy nutrition environment are serving healthy choices of meals, limiting availability of sugary drinks, and providing lots of water that you want to drink. And our goal is to make healthy choices easy to attain.
People who work in food nutrition services serve healthy food at schools.
Well, it gives children the fuel that their bodies need to grow and learn and maintain healthy weight. It also builds self-esteem and confidence in children, and they can feel makes them feel good when they take pride in their work and perform at their best.
Well, nutritional services not only feed the children, but they also provide education for what healthy eating habits look like. This can help children form lifelong healthy eating habits, and early education can provide the tools for what kids need to be healthy, stay well, and do well in school.
Learning about nutrition has been fun. Maybe this video changed the way you thought about nutrition. Well, goodbye for now.
Hi, my name is Penny Eggers, and I created this video to educate the general public on the importance of youth in agriculture through programs such as 4-H and FFA, and the impact that is made by supporting them at the Sacramento County Fair Junior Livestock Auction. This is my rabbit, Max. Max is the first rabbit I ever got, and he's the reason I began going to the county fair. Have you ever gone to the county fair? If you have, you've probably seen the big barn in the back of the fair. And if you've been in the barn, you know that it's the animal barn. The animal barn is exactly what it sounds like. It's a big barn, a loud barn to be specific, full of livestock animals such as cows, sheep, goats, rabbits, pigs, guinea pigs, and poultry such as chickens, turkeys, and ducks. Did you know that the animals in that barn belong to youth exhibitors who are affiliated with programs such as 4-H and FFA? What exactly is 4-H and FFA, you may ask? 4-H and FFA are both organizations that give young people the opportunity to learn about agriculture and gain skills that help meet the challenges of their communities.
As a county 4-H leader and volunteer for the Sacramento County Fair, we see firsthand how important these programs such as 4-H and FFA are for our young people in order to learn to see the bigger picture of how they can fit in our community.
If we didn't have programs such as 4-H and FFA, then the continuum between agriculture, education, and the viable future in agriculture in America would be vulnerable.
4-H participation in our county has slowly declined over the past decade because there's just simply too much competition from other programs and activities. So getting the word out that we are still here and that we still have lots of programs is key to avoiding this decline, because 4-H is really important for preparing young people with a strong foundation of knowledge, skills, and experience for a future in agriculture, STEM, and beyond.
So why do these program members bring their animals to the county fair? Well, there's a variety of reasons why youth members such as myself would want to bring their animals to the fair. For one, it allows you to show your animal in a breeding or market show. A breeding show exhibits how the youth member worked hard to cultivate their breed to a standard. A market show exhibits how the youth member worked hard to prepare their animal for market. Additionally, youth members participate in showmanship, which allows them to demonstrate their skills as a showman with their animal. Lastly, exhibitors with market animals who've been deemed market ready will sell their animal at the junior livestock auction, which is supported by the general public and local or regional businesses.
Here's James. Tell me when to compare. How you doing, buddy? Did a good job here. How about $1? Give me 5. Hey, mini, 500. Hey, mini, 5. Give me 5. Right, give me $500. Give me 5. What do you think? 3. Hey, mini, 3. Hey, old red Eggers right here. Badger Creek 4-H or 795 is the number. Tell me when to compare. 500. Hey, mini, 5. Hands high. Give me $500. Hey.
One of the biggest reasons youth members choose to participate in the GLA is for the unique experience it provides. Part of the experience includes funding their project and future projects, or contributing to their college fund, which helps empower these young people to make significant contributions to agriculture in their communities.
19, gonna go. 18, 19, walking out of here. 18, so 1,800, put on 2, 3.
Why is it important to support youth members at the Junior Livestock Auction? Supporting youth members by purchasing their animal or giving an add-on to their sale at the GLA helps support those members' individual needs for growth and development. Proposals over the last couple of decades have jeopardized the funding for programs such as 4-H and FFA. Despite these setbacks, youth members have pushed forward to fund their future and the future of agriculture in America.
The future of agriculture. The demographics of rural America have really been changing as urbanization spreads into our rural farming areas, and the Sacramento Valley has seen major growth over the last decade, and we need to be cognizant of how this affects our rural farming communities as leaders in agriculture with the farm to fork recognition that we've worked so hard for. If we continue this trajectory, then millions of additional acres of farmland will be lost, fragmented, or compromised by 2040, not just in California, but nationwide.
Ladies and gentlemen, give Mike Albiani, the president of our Fair Board, a big round of applause. I also want to recognize, because these are thankless appointments when it comes to being on the Fair Board, and we appreciate all they've done to keep the Sacramento County Fair moving forward. I know it's been a great year attendance-wise. The weather has blessed us this week. But Kobe Turner's the director, Arturo Barajas, Evan Corridor, Serena Correa, and Dennis Tagani. Give those other directors a big round of applause as well. I think something that a lot of people don't realize that aren't totally familiar with fairs and expositions and the way that these fairs are funded, but the state government has basically taken all state funds away from these fairs. So these foundations have become very important to maintaining the way of life, maintaining the fairs, maintaining the opportunity for these young people and those of us that thrive off rural America to participate in these programs. The Sacramento County Fair has an excellent foundation. We get the opportunity to sell a lot of sales around the state of California, and very seldom do we have 860 lots in a day. So these young people are very hardworking. They should be very thankful for that auction committee. And ladies and gentlemen, I just can't tell you, as we walk for our champions steer in, I think that I want to thank you once again for what you've supported so far. These young people are the future of this country. When we look at everything going on in the United States of America,
hardest part in FFA and 4-H for the JLA, it's not an easy topic to talk about, but it's often referred to as ringside tears. And this experience helps build character. It develops empathy and creates an understanding of an unconditional positive regard that is hard to grasp unless you experience it.
What's the hardest part about selling your animal at the junior livestock auction? The answer to this question will vary from person to person. For me, the hardest part about selling my animal at the GLA is the personal connection that I made with that animal. So knowing that all my hard work is coming to an end as I prepare to say goodbye. Although bittersweet, I know that my appreciation for these animals go beyond the experience of the auction ring. It rests in the fact that I know where my food comes from, the process that it takes to raise these animals, and in having a lifelong respect for the people in agriculture.
$650 there, 700, last chance. Now 750, ma'am. 750, 750, 750. Sold right there. $700, $12.97. Give Calvin food sales a great big round of applause. Here's 27. This is loaded.
I am a 4-H'er, and I believe the future of agriculture starts here. Thank you for watching my documentary.
Hi, my name's Lee Miller. I joined the Navy and joined in the submarine force, and I became a cook on submarines. That was my beginning of my career in the Navy.
I had an opportunity to interview my grandfather to learn about his time in the Navy. Many kids think that being in the military is all about war and fighting. There's so much more to being in a part of the military than war.
What motivated me at the time was a draft was in effect, and they drafted me into the Army. I preferred to be in the Navy, so I went down to a recruiter and joined the Navy.
My grandpa's story is just one example how the military is so much more than war and fighting.
My role was to learn how to operate every other person's department, including my own, in case of emergency. But my main job was cooking for the force on the submarine. Well, I can describe being in the conning tower, learning to take the sub down and up. That was part of the experience I had to know how to do, and also all the electrical systems, the air conditioning systems, all those things are important to know for each other's job in case of an emergency. So I had a wonderful time in the service. I learned a lot. I went to boot camp, spent several months in boot camp, and then went to what we call an A school, which taught us to cook, and then went back to submarine school back in New London, Connecticut, and then came back out to California and boarded my first submarine. One of the things that works so well for the service is you learn discipline. You learn how to be a team player. You become part of a family that's unique and special that look out for each other.
He even discussed some of his challenges.
And some of the challenges were I wasn't used to being in a submarine, so that challenge was learning how to adapt to cooking when there's waves and other obstacles in your way with a small galley with 99 people to cook for. So it was part of a challenge, but everybody kind of worked together and we got it all handled.
Crewmates were important to my grandfather.
Relationships on a submarine especially were all family. We all worked together. We enjoyed our time off the boat as well together, and we had to work together because each life depended on the other in case of an emergency on a submarine.
The skills he learned in the service has assisted him throughout his life.
When I got out of the service, I was seeking a job, and I used that same discipline, the things I'd learned in the service of doing things right the first time, to be able to help my career along when I got out of the service.
Finally, when asked if there was anything he wanted to share, this is what he said.
The fact that being on two different kinds of submarines during that time, one diesel and then nuclear subs, so I got the experience of both submarines and enjoyed my time in the service and wouldn't have traded it for anything. If I was younger, I'd do it again.
Many families have traditions of going to the Northern California Renaissance Fair. What makes people like going so much? What's some of your favorite parts of the fair?
So my favorite parts of the fair are the stage, the henna booth, and parading in the streets as part of Dance Macabre.
Okay. What is one reason you go every year?
I was born into a family that works at the Renaissance Fair, and so for me it's a family tradition and a lifelong tradition for going, and now I have the honor of bringing you and your sister.
Why do you think other people like going every year?
I think it's a chance for people to express themselves, be creative, wear costumes. I think people like the theatrical aspect of it. I think that it's a fantasy world, so people can unplug for a little bit and just take in the scenery and have authentic interactions with people that they wouldn't have outside of the fair.
Could you describe the fair?
So the fair is a magical place that takes the stage in a wooded area, and it's at Casa de Fruta,
okay.
Or at least the one that we go to is.
Mm-hmm.
And people wear costumes. They are reenacting Elizabethan England.
Mm-hmm.
So there are all sorts of people who are acting out different parts, like Dance Macabre, which is the dance of the dead. There's the villagers, the nobles, and royalty. There are Germans there from those times. There's a joust that happens. There are fishmongers, which basically like street selling fish salespeople. There's games, there's art, there's costumes. I think I already said that. And there's, of course, stage performances.
How long have you been going?
Actually, I didn't answer that yet. I have been going since I was born. So we're going to call that 47 years.
Okay. Is there any other things you'd like to share about the fair?
So for me, it is an honor to pass this down to the next generation.
Mm-hmm.
It's something I look forward to every year, and it's a very special piece of my life that I am honored to share with my family.
Can you name some of the booths?
So some of the booths are, there's the coin strike booth, there's the henna booth, the braiding booth, there's the crafts booth, which I can't remember the name of right now. There's a whole bunch of clothing booths. One's called Tickle Thy Fantasy. There are booths that sell wooden cups, jewelry, perfumes, pretty much anything that is artisan or crafted by hand. You name it, it's there.
The Renaissance Fair is based off of a town in England called Wellington during the Renaissance. Because the fair is based on the Renaissance, people have to talk and act like they're in the Renaissance. People also have to dress like they're in the Renaissance. People in the Renaissance did lots of things to avoid sickness and death, like parades and making guilds. One of the parades people did was called Dance Macabre. People did these parades to make Death think that he already went through the town. What was some of your favorite parts of the fair?
My favorite part of the fair was definitely the food. There was a lot of good fried food, there were good coffees, good desserts, and I really enjoyed eating at the fair.
Can you describe the fair?
In one word, I would say fun. There were people dressed up, spending time with their friends, and it was like grown-ups got to play like how kids do at recess.
What was one reason you went?
I went because my friend invited me. He worked at the blacksmith station there, and he demonstrated how to make different like medieval things like belt buckles and forks and stuff like that.
Can you describe your day at the fair?
So I started off at the blacksmith station meeting up with my friends, and then we got food, which was really good. Then we went to a show where they like did laundry and they had to scrub it all, and then they like pretend they're gonna flick water at you, but sometimes they actually do flick water at you. Then we walked around and there were tons of shops with all sorts of cool stuff, costumes, like house decor, all sorts of fun little like medieval fantasy type things. And then we went to a joust at the very end of the day, and we got to see knights jousting.
Would you recommend going to the fair?
Definitely, I would recommend going to the fair. It was a good time.
Is there anything else you'd like to share about the fair?
The shops were really cool. You could buy all kinds of things like costumes, anything to do with dragons. There was cool jewelry, all sorts of stuff. I could have spent all day just looking at the shops.
The Renaissance Fair is a fun place to go to and learn interesting facts about the Renaissance.
The theater is a magical place.
My theater company is called Royal Stage.
I am the owner and artistic director of the theater.
Theater is the thing I spend 95% of my time doing. I spend all my time at Royal Stage.
I think the theater can be a magical place because you can make it anything you want it to be.
Well, they do different shows and they do a lot of and they do different ages.
We are right now putting on a show of 120 students. All of them collaborate together, sing, dance, and do different musical numbers.
I think just the whole experience is magical, especially when you add in the lighting and the sound and the costumes.
My favorite part would really be like getting into character and basically being this different person that I'm not.
You get to explore worlds that you wouldn't otherwise in your everyday life.
Thought this might be fun to do, so I did it and I got hooked on it. It was so much fun. So I started doing more shows, and here I am on my 5th show, and it's really fun. I feel like that's my second family.
Something that I've experienced that is magical, that's part of the theater, is just getting to see everybody just grow and become friends. It's so magical to me how you can get a room full of strangers together, and by the end of the 3 or 4 months that it takes to put on a show, they're all best friends and truly like a family.
I've made so many friends when I've done theater. Like I came doing theater, like having no friends, and I ended up with like a whole group of friends.
I love choreographing for shows. I love teaching people how to create movements to music. Dance is definitely my favorite part of theater.
There's so many different ways that people can act and express themselves.
My favorite part has to be when you're singing on the microphone. It's just really exciting for me.
My skills have just grown so much, and I've just learned so much more.
When you sing, you just feel like you're in the song, and sometimes when you dance, some of the dances are difficult, but they're also really, really fun.
Being able to do all of this and then have the support from the other staff members and the kids with focusing and doing what they need to do, and going out into the theater and watching them as they perform, it all comes together even when you think it probably won't.
In theater, it's really fun because you get to go in like special parts, and like you get to like hang out with your friends backstage, and like there's the costumes are so much fun.
I think everyone should do theater.
My name is Richard from SECTV, and I'm at the Capital Air Show 2023.
The California Capitol Air Show is an exciting aviation event that takes place every fall in Sacramento. This aerial extravaganza features amazing acrobatic performances, rare vintage aircraft, and thrilling flyovers. Some fascinating facts about the air show include it was founded in 2004 and takes place annually at Mayfair Airport. The air show attracts over 50,000 spectators each year, which makes it one of the largest air shows on the West Coast. The U.S. Navy Blue Angels, one of the most renowned demonstration teams in the world, are frequent stars at the show. Their spectacular maneuvers and F/A-18 Hornets never fail to impress the crowds. Aircraft ranging from World War II fighters to modern jets are showcased. Some of the rarest planes make appearances, like the P-51 Mustang, F-4U Corsair, and the B-25 Mitchell. Proceeds from the air show benefit local charities like the Sacramento Area Make-A-Wish Foundation and the Star Puppy Program for service dogs. Over $350,000 have been raised so far. The Mayfair Airport is 6,081 feet long and has 2 runways and 2 helipads. The California Capitol Air Show has quickly become a can't-miss event for aircraft enthusiasts and families alike.
Did you know that around 10% of the world's population is left-handed? The Netherlands actually have the most lefties in the world, which ends up being around 13.23% of the lefties on Earth. America ends up being close behind at 3.1%. Tons of people around the world don't realize, but people who write with their left hands have been treated differently in the past. Were treated as abnormal and that they corresponded with the devil. Although in most places this discrimination has never existed, being left-handed was actually illegal in Albania until the 1970s. Spain, Italy, Yugoslavia, and the Iron Curtain countries also used to require you to be left-handed in school. Luckily, today there is a profession towards the left-handed community. Even still, treat your lefty bestie with respect.
Jackson Duran.
Hi, my name is Wyatt Ashley.
Hi, my name is Calvin Lamar.
And this video is going to be about the attack of COVID-19 and how it affected the students and staff at Andrew Carnegie Middle School.
From a student's POV, how did COVID affect your life?
Me personally, I didn't get to see too many of my friends.
It made me spend a lot more time at home and I couldn't go to school or socialize.
Like, we were just stuck inside, I think I got dumber.
It affected me personally because we all had to go home and just couldn't get to see our friends, couldn't really do anything. We were all trapped, I felt like.
I had to switch from public school to private school.
About 1 million people in the U.S. have died from the attack of COVID-19.
Do you think you learned enough in COVID?
No, not at all.
No, because my teachers weren't really able to help me stay on track.
No, I feel like we're still behind.
Nope, not at all.
What was your favorite part about COVID-19?
I liked having the freedom of choosing when to do my work. My favorite part was I got to spend more family time and just get to know my family better.
Nothing. Just hated it?
Yeah, I don't like it. My favorite thing about it was just staying home. Sometimes I didn't even do the homework.
What was your least favorite part about COVID-19?
Like the fact that I couldn't really hang out with any of my friends. We had to wear masks everywhere. I didn't really like the masks at all.
Did you like online school better than regular school?
There's pros and cons.
Sometimes more than others. I didn't like it because we had to be there. I liked it because sometimes you could eat when on Zoom or something. No, I would prefer regular school, but.
No, mainly because I didn't get to see any of my friends or anything.
Now switching to a teacher's perspective. As a teacher, how did COVID-19 affect your life?
Well, it interrupted my teaching for sure.
having to teach remotely from home was a very different change from the way I'd been teaching forever.
Pretty much negatively, because I was working at an elementary school and I was rec aide, so I lost my job.
I have 2 little kids, and they weren't in school yet, so I got to just hang out with my little babies.
When we first started getting news about what was happening, I didn't really think it was going to be a big deal. My wife said, you need to go to the store and you need to get toilet paper, you need to get bags of food, you need to get a whole bunch of stuff because this is going to be a serious thing. And I went, yeah, okay, whatever. But I did it. And I went to the store and I bought the biggest thing of toilet paper you can imagine. I bought bags and bags of food, pushed the cart up to the check stand, and the people looked at me like I was an insane person.
Do you think your kids learned enough during COVID?
Absolutely not. I thought at one point I was going to be a really good online teacher because, I can tell jokes, I can do stuff, but I realized that I need people.
No, because it was really hard to engage the kids who weren't on screen. You didn't know if kids were listening to you or not. And there's a personal interaction in a classroom that can't happen on video. There's just no way.
Teachers, what was your favorite and least favorite part about COVID-19?
But we learned a lot. We learned a lot about ourselves. We learned a lot about what it means to be a part of a community. And so, that's kind of the good part of what COVID did.
It changed how I think about education. It changed how I think about teaching. It really changed everything for me.
Did you or any of your family members end up getting COVID-19? If so, how bad was it?
To be honest, I feel like I got it before it was popular to get it. I was really, 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 really sick during December and January, right before the world shut down, and I thought it was a really bad cold or a flu. Turned out I had COVID. My wife got COVID. We both lost our sense of taste and smell.
The first time I got COVID-19 was a week ago. I got COVID right before winter break ended. The day before we were going to come back, I was like, I'm not feeling good. And my daughter came to me and said, Dad, everything tastes the same. And so we tested and it was like, yeah, okay, we all have it.
Yeah, I think all of us did at one point, just at different points, so yeah.
Yeah, but we didn't die, so I got it. It was bad, but I recovered.
COVID-19 had a negative impact on people all around the world. Teachers, students, and staff at public schools had to learn an entire new way of doing things. As you heard from the Andrew Carnegie students and staff, the challenges were many and the rewards were few.
Hello, I'm Preston. These are the effects of gaming. Be sure to listen so you don't miss a thing.
What I see about that's negative with video games is that people get wrapped up in it and it almost becomes addictive and they lose balance in their lives. You shouldn't be gaming 15 hours a day and so on. It's just not healthy. Balance in your life, get outside, play, talk with people. That's key balance. So it's when the gaming gets unbalanced, as I see as the biggest issue.
Oftentimes video games can help you build up your reaction speed. So oftentimes people are struggling to react to certain things very quickly. So if you're into sports, sometimes playing video games can help you react quickly to whatever is happening during a sports game. So it helps you build up your hand-eye coordination because you're focusing on the screen, but you're still trying to keep track of what your hands are doing with either controller, mouse and keyboard, so on.
I get to hang out with my friends, which I don't always get to do because I got a kid and they live in different parts of SAC, so it's easier for us to hop on and play some video games if we're trying to hang out. So that's the biggest benefit for me, for sure. Playing video games, trying to just do that one last quest or get that one last level.
I actually play a lot of video games, I play Minecraft, I actually play a lot of Fortnite, 200 Pump People. I actually play a lot of Valorant as well. Actually, there's a lot of benefits. I think, eye and hand coordination is really good. I think you can get new skills with your fingers and your hands. And I think you can meet a lot of new people, meet a lot of new friends. Actually, there's a lot of downsides. Like maybe if you're a pro player like me and like you play a lot, you might not take a shower as much. You won't really spend time with family that much. You might just be playing with your friends online.
Those were the effects of gaming. Be sure to limit your gaming and stay healthy. I'm Preston signing off.
That's kind of dangerous because if they find out you recorded their fight, they could go to you.
That is kind of the main reason why the school doesn't really trust us students with phones, let alone like when in our own free times, like lunch and after school and stuff. I feel like we should just appreciate the fact that we have phones on us overall, because they could be doing what other schools could just do and just take it away entirely.
The whole phones and fight thing, I can see why teachers and like the principal and like the counselors made it a rule that if there's a fight to not record it or to not like send it to a bunch of people if you do record it, because it could just get shared everywhere.
But the way that we treat phones so negatively and the way that we're just so like mean-spirited, a lot of us, and we don't ever use our phones for the right purpose or just that overall just be kind of normal in a way, kind of shows why we don't really get to have our privileges of having our phones as much.
I mean, I think outside of class it can be helpful, not generally at school, because most of the time when you guys have them at school, it's to record things that you shouldn't be recording or do things that you shouldn't be doing.
I definitely, like, especially considering how many Instagram accounts and just TikTok accounts, just overall social media accounts that I've seen of fights here being recorded and just altercations, drama.
You guys already make this place unsafe enough, and the phones just add to the problem. So the less phone, the better, in my opinion.
Just because of how much I see that, like, it really, it's very telling on why we don't really have our phones a lot.
At 5:30 a.m. on July 16, 1945, a plutonium implosion bomb exploded, blasting the world out of the machine age and into the nuclear age. The code name of this top-secret project was Trinity. The Trinity test was a dangerous turning point that brought the world one step closer to a nuclear cataclysm that could lead to the end of the human race. The Trinity test was a part of the top-secret World War II government program known as the Manhattan Project. After it was discovered that nuclear fission could be used to create extremely powerful weapons of unharnessed destruction, President Franklin D. Roosevelt worried that Nazi Germany would begin development on nuclear weapons. This led to the establishment of the Manhattan Project, headed by General Leslie Groves. The Manhattan Project's goal was to design and develop a nuclear weapon before Nazi Germany. The Manhattan Project had 3 main sites, one of which was Los Alamos, New Mexico. General Groves set up a laboratory for bomb development, which involved some of the world's best scientists, led by theoretical physicist J. Robert Oppenheimer. For a uranium bomb, a fairly simple gun-type design would be able to detonate, but at Los Alamos, they were using plutonium. It quickly became clear that if this method were used on plutonium, it would explode early. The scientists were forced to go with a different design. Oppenheimer decided to stake everything on the implosion-designed plutonium bomb. After a number of problems, development on the bomb that had been nicknamed the Gadget finally got off the ground. By 1944, scientists at Los Alamos began to voice their concerns about whether the building of nuclear weapons was ethical. There was even a meeting to discuss the impact of the Gadget on civilization. They discussed why they were still developing a bomb, even though the war was virtually over. The scientists worried about what the world would be like after the war, and whether they were doing something good or bad. On April 30th, 1945, Adolf Hitler committed suicide. Germany surrendered soon after. Physicist Emilio Sergei wrote in his memoirs, "Now that the bomb could not be used against the Nazis, doubts arose." Many of the scientists believed the only justification for nuclear weapons was defeating Hitler and the Nazis, and now the war was over. But despite the ethical dilemmas over the building of nuclear weapons, development on the Gadget continued. A pair of scientists had been working on molding plastic explosives, assembling heavy bomb cores, and testing them in a canyon. The design for the plutonium bomb was nearly finished, and now they had to decide whether or not a test was necessary. Oppenheimer insisted that a test would be essential to determining the capabilities of the bomb and whether it would even work, but General Groves argued that they couldn't spare that much plutonium. However, he finally gave in when Oppenheimer said that if they didn't test it, the use of the Gadget over enemy territory will have to be done substantially blindly. Oppenheimer, inspired by the poems of John Donne, named the test Trinity. The test was set for July 16th, 1945. 210 miles south of Los Alamos, the bomb was hoisted onto a huge steel tower in preparation. The planes were known as Jornada del Muerto before the test, but would afterwards be known as the Alamogordo bombing range. July 15th was the day for final checks. That evening, there was a huge thunderstorm. The test couldn't go forward if the rain continued. The scientists hoped that the storm would clear up before the test started. It would be difficult to get everything up to that level of readiness again. Then, the head meteorologist announced that there would probably be a break in the storm from 5 to 6 o'clock a.m. He was right. A few minutes after 5, the bomb was armed. In 20 minutes, it would explode. The last few scientists at the tower drove away. Oppenheimer's bomb shelter was 6 miles away from the blast site. This was where the world's first nuclear test would be run. And in 20 minutes, a whole new era of uncertainty and danger would begin. The 5-minute signal was a green flare that was shot into the sky. Soon, there was only 1 minute left. Then 30 seconds. Then 10. Then 5. Then 1. And then... everyone there remembered it for the rest of their lives. General Farrell described the explosion as a searing light with the intensity many times that of the midday sun. Robert Serber, who was wearing no eye protection, said, "I saw first a yellow glow, which grew almost instantly into an overwhelming white flash so intense that I was completely blinded." Richard Feynman remembered a ball of orange that starts to rise and then billow a little bit and get a little black around the edges. Oppenheimer whispered, "It worked." Soon after the light came the sound. The noise of the explosion traveled across the desert and even knocked a few scientists over. The test had succeeded. Some people were dancing and pouring whiskey, but soon they realized the implications of what had happened. We turned to one another and offered congratulations for the first few minutes, physicist Isidore Rabi recalled. Then there was a chill, which was not the morning cold. It was extremely solemn, Oppenheimer also remembered. We knew the world would not be the same. A few people laughed, a few people cried. Most people were silent. He remembered a line from the Bhagavad Gita, "Now I am become death, destroyer of worlds." In 1945, the test meant that the United States had a weapon they could use to deter and threaten other hostile superpowers. But Trinity was the biggest step down a road that will nearly inevitably lead to a nuclear holocaust. We will never be able to undo what happened at the Trinity test, just like we will never be able to uncreate nuclear weapons. Now, we have to live with the consequences. The bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki are just the tip of the iceberg. We have to speak up against nuclear weapons. There are already movements aiming to ban them worldwide. If everyone stands up for nuclear disarmament, we might be able to end this threat for good.
Hello, I'm Gage Crespo, and I'm here to tell you what diabetes is. Diabetes is a chronic autoimmune illness that prevents the creation of insulin in the pancreas. Now, some of you might be wondering, what is a pancreas? What's insulin? Don't you get it from sugar? No, you don't get it from sugar. The pancreas is one organ that is the equivalent of the mitochondria of the cell, which is a powerhouse because the pancreas can create insulin, and insulin can be diverted to blood cells. There are symptoms for type 1 and type 2, but type 2 symptoms develop much more slowly. 3 symptoms are increased amount of urination, increased hunger, and heavy amounts of shaking. Some of you might be wondering, well, how do you treat it if you can't have insulin? Well, we have tools. A insulin meter, which provides accurate readings via a test strip and a blood sample. This is what the test strip looks like. And then you insert it at the top and use this pricker, this we call it, and get a blood sample, and it'll tell you an accurate number. An insulin pen. An insulin pen is just straight insulin and a substitute for real insulin. The Dexcom is an important tool that some diabetics use. Some also use insulin pumps. Insulin pumps have insulin in them, so they can dose right then and there instead of having to use an insulin. So, with that, hopefully you'll know a little more about diabetes.
ChatGPT and AI use in classrooms is a controversial education-related topic that affects students and teachers both in interesting ways. About 3 million teenagers in the United States use ChatGPT for schoolwork, according to the Pew Research Center. It's evident that this is a method to cheat on homework and essays, which 57% of teens see as unacceptable. ChatGPT is banned in a handful of districts throughout the United States, though most teachers haven't received official guidelines on what to do about it. Seeing the potential beneficial uses, 66% of teachers believe it shouldn't be banned in schools. Exhausted teachers have been using ChatGPT to write emails for parents, generate math problems for class, form lesson plans, etc. There are also numerous benefits for students using ChatGPT. This software can offer quick information, which can aid a student in the field they're studying. And in addition, professors argue that ChatGPT encourages students to ask better questions before defending them. The evidence overwhelmingly supports the idea that AI should be used as a learning tool instead of completely banned. For classes where AI is a setback, ChatGPT has released a new feature that allows teachers to see if a work was generated by the platform, and online programs can block websites anyways. As a society, things are always changing and progressing, and this includes schooling and teaching methods. Embracing this change means utilizing ChatGPT to outweigh the drawbacks. This is Sora signing off for SECTv.
documentary on Barrett's food. This was a request made by a former teacher here at Barrett.
Hello, I'm Andrew Pratt and I'm a custodial assistant at lunch for John Barrett Middle School.
How's the food waste situation here at Barrett?
I think food waste is a big problem. We shouldn't be throwing out stuff that we can still eat.
How much food is wasted during lunchtime?
About 7 trash cans full a day.
Who deals with and takes out all this trash?
It's me and some other guys who take out the trash together.
Now back outside the cafeteria, we can see how much of a problem food waste is, but let's wait until lunch is over and see the final results. Back outside the cafeteria once more. This makes the question, how are we going to improve food waste? Well, there are multiple options we can do. Maybe a compost bin, or a second-hand bin where those who don't want their packaged item can put it in the bin. So, are you ready for a change? Are you going to help me change it?
Hello everyone, this is Jimmy. Say hi to Jimmy. Jimmy's a really nice guy, but Jimmy vapes. This gives him some problems in life. See, vaping can affect his lungs. Inhaling diacetyl, an ingredient in e-liquid, stuff inside vapes, causes inflammation and scarring in the smallest branches of the airways, which makes breathing difficult and can lead to more severe problems with further use. Vaping also raises your blood pressure, putting Jimmy at a higher risk of heart attacks and other problems. It could even cause total heart failure, which could lead to Jimmy's heart monitor looking like this, a flat line. But why? Why is vaping so harmful, and how does it compare to cigarettes? This is a cigarette. Now, let's take a closer look at all that stuff coming out of it. Those little dots you see represent some of the chemicals inside a cigarette, many of which will enter your lungs. Whoa, there are so many chemicals. I can't even read half of those. That can't be healthy. Now, let's compare this to what's inside of a vape. There's quite a bit of big words in here as well. Now, why would someone willfully put these chemicals into their body when this could happen? Usually it's peer pressure, but after a few times, the one chemical I found in common with both of these is what keeps people coming back for more. And that would be nicotine, which is super addictive. Let's compare the two to see which has more. Wow, 50 times as much? Vapes have way more nicotine, by a landslide. But both are clearly unhealthy, and vapes can share common chemicals with cleaning products, nail polish, and insect sprays. They can cause very harmful things to your body, like cancer, lung disease, heart failure, respiratory problems, and much, much more. In other words, it's not worth it. So steer clear and breathe safe.
We have the right to walk the highway. We have the right to walk to Montgomery if our feet can get us there. We must let the nation know, and we must let the world know that it is necessary to protest this threefold evil. Problem of the denial of the right to vote, to police brutality, that we continue to face and faced in its most vicious form last Sunday. Their own personal dedication to the cause of justice.
MLK was special because he had great vision and he was a great communicator of the message for equality and civil rights.
That ability to really inspire and get people on board. He was a brilliant orator, speaker, and so really fired people up.
Well, he was inspirational. He inspired people. He sacrificed his own safety, his family's safety. And what else was inspirational about him was he inspired other people to lead, not just himself, not just follow, but actually young people, kids, to actually get out there and make their own change.
They organized the Montgomery bus boycott, which eventually bankrupted the bus system and force them to end segregation on the bus in Montgomery.
Martin Luther King being able to push this bus boycott, every African American in Montgomery refusing to take the bus, walking sometimes miles to get to work, over months, using that tactic, which again, non-violent, non-compliance, we're simply not going to use your product. Bus companies eventually having to cave in and say, all right, we're going to desegregate our buses. And that's really where he hits the scene.
A lot of people don't know that he wasn't just trying to help African Americans, but all people, regardless of their race or ethnicity. Yeah, he spoke on a lot of issues that a lot of people weren't really aware of.
I think he built bridges. I mean, one of the things people don't realize in the 1960s is he built a bridge with the Kennedy administration, then later Johnson administration, providing a kind of a game plan moving forward for people of all races and backgrounds to kind of come together and fight for equality.
He took his cues from other historic figures like Gandhi, in terms of the nonviolence. As I always teach my students, we learn history to learn lessons, because Dr. King was a student of history and learned valuable lessons in his efforts.
I mean, I say this for all history is, I think it's important to understand where we come from, the struggles we've been through, the improvements and change that has been made. And I think it's important for kids to understand, you don't have to accept the status quo. You don't have to accept the world as it is, that you can affect change.
Beyond just being a historical figure, I think it's important to celebrate everybody, even those who are lesser known. There are others behind the scenes who made just as many sacrifices.
Looking at civil rights movements for other groups as well, Latino Americans, LGBTQ plus Americans, women's rights movements, they all borrowed heavily from the civil rights movement.
I think that he's a great assessment of where we evolved into basically into the 1960s and where we're at today.
This concept of civil rights or civil rights for everyone has really helped bring America closer to, again, that promise of all men are created equal. All of us are created equal.
Courageous.
Inspirational.
A brave warrior.
Hi, my name is Noah Purvis. I am the lead singer and bassist for the band Wave of Decay.
I'm Joey and I play guitar.
My name is Ryan and I play guitar.
So initially got started, our drummer, Jacob, who is a construction worker out in Willits, California, and our rhythm guitarist, Ryan. They met at Del Campo Park one night, just messing about, and they, exchanged some information, and
we kind of just decided to meet up one day and jam, and it just went from there.
One day Ryan hit up Jacob to play some music, and then, just a week before that, Ryan had played with Joey, who was our lead guitarist, and then Joey brought me along because I just happened to own a bass guitar and played bass. So we got together, and at that practice,
it kind of just happened randomly. We were all just a bunch of guys that knew each other and played instruments.
And then Joey knew Noah, and then we just started playing together, and it's cool.
We talked about Spring Fling, which we played last spring, and it was coming up, so we got that together, got a good set list of covers, and kind of just started off from there. The band means a lot to me. Speaking from the position of kind of writing a lot of the lyrics and the vocals. Definitely, it's a lot of self-expression and kind of trying to relate that to other people, make it relatable so, you know, more people listen to it and kind of enjoy the music along with us.
I think it's an outlet, you know, for like my creativity, you know. I like to play guitar and you know, have fun, and I can do that there with them, so good times.
It's a way to like express ourselves and create something we enjoy and we hope other people enjoy.
The percentage of high schoolers with cell phones has grown to 98% in 2024. With such a high percentage of cell phones, they have become a staple in our everyday life. Teenagers have an average screen time of 7 hours and 41 minutes on just their phones, which is about half of their awake hours. Does this heightened screen time have an effect on their schooling? And would students do better if they didn't have access to their phones during school hours?
Yes, I think it does positively impact it. It like takes away all the distractions and I get my work done faster.
I think that having my phone in class makes me really distracted, but then sometimes it's useful for certain assignments.
Phones can be a distraction in the classroom and cause students to lose focus and not finish assignments. Teachers have taken many different stances on cell phone management in their classrooms.
We have a routine where during the warm-up for class, I bring the phone box around and students put their phone in the phone box. It stays in that box for the duration of the period, or up into a point where it's time to return them. And then at the end of class, we hand phones back out to students, and we don't release class until every single person has their phone back.
So every morning, as soon as they come in, their phone needs to be in my lockbox, and they have individual spots and a number assigned to each spot. And they have to have their phone in the correct spot by the time the bell rings in order to not be marked tardy.
Has this helped your students academically?
I would say overall, definitely. I've seen a lot more engagement and participation in class, but also an increase of work actually getting done.
Not having access to their phones in class can eliminate that as a possible distraction to students. Is holding phones during school a practice that should be adopted in more classrooms? Or should it just be reserved for certain subjects?
So my outlook on cell phones in the classroom is very split. I think students need to have classes where they have no access to cell phones and they stay 100% focused on what's in front of them. But if every single class was like that, I don't think we're setting our students up for success in after high school. I think students need to experience having their cell phone in their hand and them learning how often to look at it and what's okay and what's not okay and what's distracting and what's not distracting. So when they join the workforce or they go to college, they've already started to learn how to regulate that about themselves in a formal setting. So I just can't see every class having the exact same policy. I don't think that would be helping our students.
Teaching students to regulate their phone usage sets them up for their future outside of high school. Phones are a very good tool when used properly. In classrooms, many students use them as calculators, timers, measuring devices, and cameras to help complete their assignments. This is not always true, and phones can also be a major distraction for many students. And not having access to them during school can help improve work and focus. But with the correct management, phones can stop being a distraction and become a very valuable resource in the classroom.
Being in a club can be a scary thought for many. Thanks to time and social skills, a lot of people might feel down to join a club. But being part of a club can have many benefits that people don't consider. 1. You will learn more about yourself. Exploring subjects and different activities can help someone discover a new passion.
Yeah, actually this made me realize I want to work somewhere related to robotics, preferably like building or coding these robots, so that someday I could build something that would help people and people can benefit off of it.
2. You gain a sense of community. By engaging in activities with the people of your club, you will find positive connections and get a sense of belonging.
You get to create a little mini community within the school of people that you feel comfortable enough to be creative with.
3. You can be a voice. A club can provide you with the opportunity to express yourself in your opinions. 4. You will develop soft skills like empathy, time management, work ethics, ferocity, adaptability, etc. 5. You will learn how to work with a team. Being in a club puts you in an environment where you have to work with others, as well as help you take and give advice.
So GTech means working together to achieve a goal. Like, it's not exactly one goal. Like several of us build like different robots. So if anything, it's people working together to achieve one goal in various ways.
6. You will get networking opportunities. You can meet new students, make connections, and build relationships that can help you in the future.
I think that being in Drummer Club has helped me a lot in navigating more friendships with people because it's brought me closer to the community as well as people in high school, and meeting even younger peers as I'm a senior now. It's helped me find more German Club members who are in the younger grades and leaving behind a legacy so that they could become the new club leaders.
You can use the skills you'll learn in class. Learning new skills in your favorite class is fun, but you could put the skills to work in a club activity. This can help you realize if you like doing the subject.
So when I first came into this club, I didn't know anything about engineering. I knew a little bit about coding, but I didn't know too much about it. So in this club, I learned how to code, how to build, how to even drive these robots, and getting the competition mentality to get ready and drive.
8. You will engage with diverse groups of people. The world is very diverse, and so is a club. So having the experience to engage with a diverse group of people at a teen age can help you develop social skills.
I learned a lot about people, which was really good for me. I got to meet a lot of interesting people. I got to hear all these different stories and walks of life, which is something that I really love just naturally as a human. I love talking to people, and so bouncing around from all the different clubs, I got to talk to a lot of different interesting people.
9. You will gain leadership skills. Being part of a club can also mean that you can help run the club. Partaking in as a club officer can help you become a better leader.
Being a leader in German Club has taught me a lot of things, such as responsibility and my duty as a German Club president, that sometimes you have to seek help from others as well as helping others yourself. By putting myself in a role such as that, it's taught me that not only do others need help, but sometimes I need help myself.
10. You'll expand your resume. A club looks good in a resume, since it shows you can handle responsibility and that you're a hardworking person.
This club not only works on robots, we also work on 3D prints that we sell to the community, and dog tags, dog tags that we could sell as key rings or keychains.
11. You can give back to the community with charity events and other activities that your club might do.
I've had so many amazing students over the past few years that have, just because they had me facilitating, they were able to do so many amazing things with going to museums and creating galleries of their own and making all these artworks to make the community just a little bit brighter.
12, and the best reason to join a club is that you will get a break from your studies and have fun.
Honestly, I think most of the students just have fun hanging out and making stuff, which is amazing.
Tucked away in the old media storage class lay a box full of mounted film slides. "Aw, someone's travel pictures," we said, not knowing that this would take us down a huge rabbit hole. This is the story of Robert Sheldon Beach. To start off, these were found open and laying around while the storage room was being cleaned out, so me and my friend took them. These are really odd to just be forgotten about, so we wanted to look for the owners and hopefully return them. I was very confused on why they were even here in the first place. There was a lot of them for sure, so that was one big thing where it was like, oh wow, there's definitely something here that was obviously important to somebody, someone who obviously traveled a lot.
It was really interesting because a lot of them were from different locations, and originally I thought that they were just the store-bought ones, but realizing there's the same guy popping into all the film slides, and we soon realized that these belonged to someone.
All of these are really old, most of them from the 1970s, and some of them even from the 60s and 50s. During the first couple of months, we didn't do much with the slides, seeing how we only had so many pictures with no leads. We did go to many of our media teachers, but no luck. That was until we heard from the tech advisor that there were more film slides in a small storage closet. And he was right. Literal thousands. Thousands of pictures from Manila, Greece, Japan, Spain, Mexico, Hong Kong, Russia, and many more. This was surely enough to kickstart our hunt. It wasn't until we found pictures from the Cal Expo in the 1970s that we found the names. James, Jeffrey, and Bob. After some searching, we concluded that Bob Beach was the owner, and this was backed up by some other photos of apartments and their family in San Francisco. So, back with names, we decided to search. It didn't take long until we found that Robert Beach had sadly passed away. Luckily, we had many other sites to use to our advantage to look for more information on him, or the family. We looked on legacy.com, White Pages, My Life, even LinkedIn. Another roadblock. Our teacher recommended that we search through the old yearbooks. I mean, if the film slides are here, someone who used to own them must have worked here. So, we searched and searched until we found the name Jan Beach in the 1986 yearbook. Supplied with the name, we set out to find our media teachers once again, and they said that they had heard of the name, and one of them was a student while they were a teacher. But alas, since the information was 40 years old, we barely got another lead. Most of the teachers presumed that she had also passed on, and there was no more information online. So after all our search, it seems that we have hit the end of the road, although we are still willing to figure out this lost media. I had to go through a bunch of yearbooks, found those, and now we're kind of stuck. I mean, we tried our hardest to try to figure out how to get these pictures back to where they belong, but in the end, I guess it just didn't work out. Also, please, if you have any information, contact us, any leads, any relatives that you know that is connected to this man. Really appreciate it so we can get these relics in the right hands. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Karen Gibson Noriega, and I'm going to talk about my story from infertility to adoption. My husband and I wanted kids, and we tried for 13 years to get pregnant. We went through the infertility process. I was probably in the hospital 5 times during the process to try to get pregnant. Nothing was working. We had talked about adopting or doing foster care, and I was hesitant. My husband was on board. He wanted to do it. He wanted kids. But I was hesitant because I thought there's no way I can love another woman's child. And having so many things go wrong, I finally hit the point where I'm like, okay, let's take foster parenting classes and just see how it goes. Well, the next day we got a call from a friend, And she had a friend that was having to give up her child for adoption. And our friend asked us if we would be interested. And immediately, I felt a connection to the baby. We met the mother, got along really well with the mother, and she chose us to adopt her child. We went to the hospital when he was born. We got to go in every day because she was comfortable with us. And we were able to take him right home from the hospital. And I loved that baby. He was odd, he was tiny, and it was like he didn't have a lot of meat on him to hold and cuddle, and he wasn't the baby I thought I would have, the little child that wanted to sit on my lap constantly and snuggle. He was very independent, but I loved that child. And then, but he was very energetic, and I'm like, there's no way I can have another kid. But when he was 4, he started talking about having a sister, and he drew a picture of his family, and it included a baby sister that he didn't have yet. So we talked about foster care again. So we all talked about it, my husband, myself, and our son, our 4-year-old, and we all wanted to take care of her. So we took her into our home, and we loved her. She was our great niece. So we took care of her in anticipation of her being reunited with her mom. And we kind of had a wall built around our hearts. We didn't want it to hurt as much when she went back to live with her mom. So we gave her all the love that we could at that time, still protecting our hearts in the process. But it ended up, she didn't go back to her mom, and we were able to adopt her. And she became the 4th member of our family. And she was the cutest little roundest baby. And she just added so much to our lives. I can't imagine our lives without her. But to go back to my initial hesitation of me not thinking I could love another woman's child, I was completely wrong, because I can't love my 2 kids more than I already do.
Lunar New Year, an annual Asian holiday that celebrates the new year. Similar to the one most of you are familiar with, countries that celebrate this holiday are China, Vietnam, Cambodia, Taiwan, Korea, Japan, Mongolia, and more. Traditions can vary and are celebrated uniquely. However, they all celebrate a new and fresh start. This year, it will be celebrated on February 10th and is the Year of the Dragon. There are a total of 12 different zodiac signs for each year. The animal rotates based on the moon cycle, starting with the mouse and ending with the pig. It celebrates good fortune and prosperity, which is symbolized through the use of red, yellow, and gold. These colors, which can be seen throughout the decor, traditional outfits, and art representing wealth, luck, prosperity, and good fortune. Typically, parents or grandparents will also give red pocket money, which is given to the younger generations in a red envelope. When the children receive their red envelopes, they are required to kneel or knock their head to the ground before receiving it to show respect to the person they are receiving it from.
Hi, my name is Chloe. I am the Vice President of CASA.
Hi guys, I'm Chelsea and I am currently the co-president of CASA.
Hi, my name is Hannah and I am a part of CASA. I am currently co-president along with Chelsea Chu.
This is CASA, which stands for Chinese American Student Association Club. My favorite part about my club is how close everybody is and how I'm able to actually share my culture with everybody.
My favorite part about CASA is during multi, everybody comes together to learn a dance, and I think it's really fulfilling and really fun because everybody enjoys their time. And then we get to perform at multi, so.
I love how close we are with one another and we can do things like multi and food fair without much complication.
My Lunar New Year traditions would be always going to my grandparents' house to eat really good food and just enjoy the company of our family, and I think that's just really fulfilling.
So for Lunar New Year, we like to pop firecrackers at my grandpa's house where I meet with the rest of my dad's side of the family.
One of my cultural practices would be whenever we go to our grandparents' house, we have to make sure to greet all of our relatives there and especially our grandparents.
Hi, my name is Hallie Tran and I am the president of the Lion Dance Club. My favorite thing about the club is that it's a very family environment with everyone in the club, and we all have a similar goal, and that is to perform at elementary schools. My Lunar New Year traditions would be to perform at other elementary schools so then we can spread the news of Lunar New Year. I celebrate my Lunar New Year by hanging out with my family and giving Lisi red envelopes to the younger ones and receiving Lisi back to us. I hope you enjoy our performances this Lunar New Year, and Happy New Year.
Hello, my name is Houston and I'm the Vice President of the Line Dance Club. My favorite part of the club is the energy that people bring. These performances take a lot, and so we like to bring the energy so that our audiences can feel the energy.
How do you celebrate your Lunar New Year?
Well, typically I would go to a party and with my family, and we would celebrate the Lunar New Year's and spend time with family and friends. Happy New Year! Chúc mừng năm mới!
I'm Tin Le, and I'm the co-president of the Vietnamese Student Association on PGHS. My favorite part about the club is how I have the privilege to expose people at school about the Vietnamese culture. I celebrate my Lunar New Year's by spending time with family, eating our traditional food like bánh tét, and when it hits 12 a.m. on Lunar New Year's, we set a line of fireworks to start off our Lunar New Year's. Happy New Year's! Chúc mừng năm mới!
My name is An Phan and I am co-president of Vietnamese Student Association Club. My favorite thing about the club is the people and the attitude they bring towards this club and our practices of our culture. Chúc mừng năm mới!
Great, like normal, I didn't take any pictures all week. There is the house that we built with the group from San Jose, Bethel Church. Beautiful lavender color. Another great week with a great build.
Yeah, the trip to Mexico it's a volunteer trip where I take kids from high schools, usually this high school. We go down to a city called San Quintin. There's already a vetted, which means she's been through the interview process. And it's usually for a single mom who's either been abused or trafficked or sold or just has gone through some hard times. The goal with what I'm trying to teach them, other than the hands-on construction part, is that your needs are important, but there's people in far worse situations than you are. So it kind of makes them grateful for what they have.
Probably when we showed them the house for the first time that we built and seeing all of their reactions.
My favorite moment was giving them their keys, because you go around the circle of everybody that built them and then the families in the middle, and you say something to the family, just like wishing them well with their new house, and then you give them their keys and then they unlock the door, and it's very emotional.
It felt good. It felt like I did something like better. Like I feel like I helped them in a way. They were really happy, so I felt happy. I felt good.
The tacos were very good. I had some amazing shrimp tacos there.
It was really good, and I ate a lot of tacos. They were so good. And then they would make food for us at like the dining room place, and we had spaghetti and like salad. It was really good.
Favorite part is seeing the kids interact and grow and kind of buy in. There's always a kid or two that kind of sits back and doesn't, like they're there and they don't allow themselves to open up and really be part of it. So when those kids like break out of their shell and then they dig in and they start playing with the little kids and they grab a hammer and they actually like feel it and they buy in, that's my favorite part. Otherwise, the trip's not worth it. If you just go there and be your same old American self and just kind of sit in the corner, there's no value. So when you go, you got to work. And I love that part.
The season and weather has changed, and so have our moods. Seasonal depression is at an all-time peak during the winter, and it is crucial that we bring attention to this topic.
So seasonal affective disorder is basically a mood disorder that follows the seasons. So people tend to be a little more depressed during rainy times or poor weather. It can also have the effect where people are depressed during the summertime when it's way too hot and they can't go outside or it's too smoky, something like that. But it's definitely a correlation between the weather patterns and your mood.
It's something that affects people because they're not getting as much vitamin D and just that sunlight. And so it tends to make people a little less than their normal baseline.
Whether or not you're diagnosed with an actual disorder from a therapist or not, we all tend to, in winter months or different seasons or times of year, we tend to struggle. And I think that there's probably parts of depression, especially seasonal, that are challenging for others more than, but I think there's a little bit that would be true for all of us.
Some of those symptoms could include feeling lethargic, not feeling like themselves, having less desire to do their everyday things.
Depression, kind of very lethargic, kind of down, not very happy about things that they should be happy about, like birthdays, holidays, friends, things like that, of that nature.
Low motivation, low drive for school, and just really struggling. And I think this past month, since we've come back in January, kind of an increase in students struggling, and just kind of reaching out to all your supports, your friends, your family, staff here at school, things that help you to feel better.
I know they may not feel like it, but increased level of activity. So exercising, because it's going to naturally kind of kick in some of those things, that endorphins and things like that, serotonin levels that are going to make them feel better.
I give advice to the person just to do the best they can to do something that makes them happy. If they really enjoy going to the movies and it's rainy outside, go to the movies. Also, too, if you see your friend going through something where they tend to be a little bit down, or you can tell a little more lethargic or don't want to do things, kind of like say, hey, let's go do something. Let's go, today's a nice day. Let's go do, I don't know what you kids do, go play mini golf or go do something fun. Get outside, move around, walk around, turn off the TV, put away the phone, and do something that's more environmentally based versus something that's more, you staying in a room.
Even though it's hard to control our environment and impossible to control the weather, there are still ways we can help take care of our mental health. And remembering, it's okay to not be okay. Never be afraid to ask for help. There are many resources on campus and online that can help you. Remember, the sun will shine again.
Would you call yourself a math person? If you're like most people, you would say no. After all, it's pretty common knowledge that math just isn't something a lot of people are good at. Given that and the popular belief that math is inherently a tough subject, it seems that not many can even call themselves math people. Well, I'm here to tell you that the idea of the math person as you know it is simply not true. With the right work, anyone can succeed in math. But if that's the case, then why do so many people struggle in math?
To explain why, we need to understand the factors that go on throughout a student's school life, starting in early childhood. One factor is dyscalculia, which is a math learning disability that affects about 5 to 10% of people.
Some of the students that I've had in previous years that couldn't calculate. They couldn't multiply or divide in their head. They didn't know their times tables. And it wasn't necessarily an issue from their teacher. It's because they had a disability where they just couldn't get it. There's a disability called dyscalculia of students who don't calculate. They can't calculate in their head very quickly because the part of their brain just doesn't want to do it, or it needs strengthening.
People with dyscalculia have trouble understanding key concepts in math, such as more and less, trouble connecting words for numbers with specific amounts, and trouble remembering rules in math. One cause of dyscalculia is genetics. There isn't a single gene behind dyscalculia, but there are many genes that play a small part. Those genes tend to impact reading skills as well, so it's common for someone to have both dyscalculia and dyslexia, which is a disability that makes reading and spelling more difficult. While dyscalculia is important to consider, it only affects about 5 to 10% of people, which means that for most of us, we can't exactly link our math skills with a condition like dyscalculia. An article by Big Think makes an interesting point on this. It quotes a book from developmental psychologist Steven Pinker in How the Mind Works, stating that, on evolutionary grounds, it would be surprising if children were mentally equipped for school mathematics. These tools were invented recently in history and only in a few cultures, too late and too local to stamp the human genome. He goes on to argue that although we have certain mathematical intuitions, such as how toddlers can compare the number of dots in pictures, these intuitions are not the same as the highly formal rule systems we start learning in elementary school. In other words, while there are some intuitions that are important in math, they're only part of the story here, because the actual formal rules in math are something that has to be taught, not something people are born good at. What's more relevant is the amount and quality of the practice students receive.
I do feel that some people's brains are wired in such a way that math may come easier to others, but I don't believe that there is such a thing as not a math person.
Math is a skill, and a skill is built. Like basketball is a skill, you don't get it by just sitting back in the background. You get it by actually practicing. That's why a lot of math worksheets have tons and tons of similar problems on them, because math is a skill that you build. It's not something you just know.
The article Adding It Up, Helping Children Learn Mathematics describes 5 branches of what makes someone good at math. The 2 we'll focus on here are procedural fluency and conceptual understanding. Procedural fluency is basically being able to solve problems efficiently and correctly. Students should be able to carry out methods to add, subtract, multiply, and divide whole numbers, for example. These skills need practice and drilling, which comes from worksheets and times tables. Conceptual understanding means being able to understand the reasoning behind the methods used, and being able to mentally connect ideas with each other. Conceptual understanding makes it easier to develop procedural fluency, but first you need procedural fluency in order to develop conceptual understanding. According to an article from Edutopia, pressured to cover every state standard with equal emphasis, teachers often can't spend extra time on fundamentals like memorizing multiplication tables, or even on the standards themselves. That means a lot of classes don't allocate enough time for students to practice what they learned, meaning students won't get that procedural fluency, meaning they won't be able to make the higher level connections for conceptual understanding. That's a problem because math is a subject that relies heavily on prior knowledge. If they haven't fully learned the basic concepts, they'll fall behind in more complex concepts.
I see some students, like, they don't know how to use the calculator, or they don't know some mental math, and that does affect them because they are a slower learner in that sense. But if you learn it, then, you know, it will be okay, but you definitely need that prior knowledge.
I couldn't really remember things from the previous year because I just wasn't paying attention that much. Since it just sort of piled on, it just made it really hard for me.
So far, we've talked about the early factors of math skills, which include dyscalculia and the practice students receive. There are also later factors to math skills, which prevent students from fulfilling their potential in math later on. One of the biggest things that affects students over time is the myth of the math person, which is the belief that people are naturally born good or bad at math. An article from The Atlantic describes this scenario. When children first enter math class, they have different levels of preparation depending on how much math they were taught at home. The more prepared students often score better in tests and homework, while the unprepared students are more likely to be frustrated at the subject. The unprepared students, not realizing the prepared students had previous experience, assume they're just not math people and stop pushing themselves in the subject, believing that they'll never improve. I must emphasize that the math person myth is not true. As I've discussed, much of what makes students good or bad at math is from the practice they've had, rather than from something innate. Despite that, the myth that someone is or isn't a math person is still prevalent, and makes a lot of students adopt what's called the fixed mindset, which is the belief that your natural abilities are fixed and cannot be developed just by working hard or listening to advice from others.
I think people where math doesn't come naturally to them, I think that it starts out as not natural and then they just think, oh, I'm not good at math, I'm not gonna try anymore, and then they just tend to give up on themselves, and so they don't keep pushing and they don't keep trying to learn a new way and a different way to correct themselves.
Many students expect math to be a hard subject due to what they hear from those around them, including family and friends.
I think a lot of times students hear from their parents that math is hard or math is not fun. So when they're little, when they hear that from their parents, they think that that's how math is.
I'm told that, wow, I must be so smart because I'm good at math. Well, why does being good at math make me any smarter than someone who's good at history or English? And I think it's because of this stigma, this idea that math is so much more difficult than everything else.
The fixed mindset can come from teachers as well.
The teachers that I've had in the past, they've always told me that I wasn't good at it, that I wouldn't go anywhere if I didn't learn how to do it, but they wouldn't put any effort to help me. They would always just doubt me. They'd be like, you're not good at this, I can't help you, I give up on helping you, you're hard to work with. Just basically disencouraging me to do what they're intended to do, which is teach me. So I kind of just lost motivation to work towards being better at math.
According to an article from KQED, teachers often believe their students can't achieve at the highest level, and in turn, students believe that about themselves. In other words, when teachers think their students can't do high-level math, the students internalize that and believe the same thing. Students also tend to feel that they have to be perfect in math class in order to be considered good at math. Thus, when a student gets a math problem wrong, they take it very personally.
Usually when I make a mistake, I kind of feel kind of disappointed in myself because, I don't really feel like I should be struggling so hard. It just feels like that because it's the only way that it'll feel right is if I just do it perfectly.
Personally, me, it's really hard to make mistakes in life in general, so especially in math, after being so good at it for a long period of time, when I make a mistake, it tends to make me really upset, and then I'll be really mad for maybe the rest of the day or something.
A possible side effect of the fixed mindset is math anxiety, which is when someone feels a sense of panic when doing something math-related.
Every time it comes down to a test, for math specifically, I get really nervous and I just forget everything that I just learned, or for allowed notes, the notes all of a sudden don't make sense even though they're my personal notes that I wrote.
Math anxiety manifests itself much like other forms of anxiety, with symptoms that include worry or panic, tense muscles, increased heart rate, sweaty palms, or lightheadedness. Math anxiety affects working memory, which is the type of memory needed to store important details in your brain, such as relevant numbers or the steps needed to solve an equation. And because math anxiety occupies that working memory, it's harder for students with anxiety to focus, making it harder to solve math problems.
I tend to have a lot of test anxiety. It really affects how well my tests come out, because usually if I'm freaking out about it, I don't do as well because I'm just so busy freaking out about how bad I'm gonna do.
Now we have the early factors and the later factors. Let's summarize what we've covered so far. In early childhood, poor math skills can come from dyscalculia, a disability that inhibits the brain's ability to do math. But not everybody who's bad at math necessarily has a disability. For most people, math skill comes down to the amount and quality of practice they received. Procedural fluency and conceptual understanding are both important, but if classrooms don't have enough time to build procedural fluency, students won't be able to understand important concepts and develop conceptual understanding. And because math relies on prior knowledge, students who haven't learned basic concepts can't learn more complex concepts. Now, when a student realizes they're not so strong in math at first, they tend to fall into a fixed mindset by concluding that they're just not a math person. Under that false belief that they can't improve, they stop trying in their math classes, keeping them from reaching their full potential. This belief that there's a math person is very common, and it may come from teachers. Many students feel guilty when they get a problem wrong as well. Math anxiety is a product of the math person belief and inhibits working memory, making it even harder to focus in math class.
As you can see, these concepts are all interconnected, which might leave you wondering, what can be done to untangle this mess?
There are a number of things teachers can do to help students who are struggling in math. While the fixed mindset is significant in preventing students from performing well in math, the growth mindset can help boost student performance in math. The growth mindset is the belief that you can develop your natural abilities by working hard or listening to advice from others. The first thing teachers can do is integrate the growth mindset in class.
I encourage a growth mindset right from day one in my classes. We spend some time discussing what it means to have a growth or a fixed mindset, and I have posters in my room that talk about what it means to have a growth mindset, and I do my best throughout the year to model having a growth mindset, and again, just encouraging and continuing to remind my students to have confidence in themselves and to keep trying.
When students feel confident, they don't give up. They want to keep doing more. And that's what I try to instill in them, try to do that positive feeling about math. The more you think that you're going to be better at it, you will be definitely better at it. We don't want to think about it as this is too challenging, I cannot do it. No, it could be challenging, but we are going to keep trying. We're never going to give up.
It's also beneficial for teachers to change their mindset about their own math skills. Professor Joe Bowler, co-author of a study at Stanford Graduate School of Education, explains that as teachers reevaluate their own potential as learners, they are more likely to embrace new forms of teaching. This helps their students build confidence, develop positive attitudes, and ultimately achieve better test scores. Teachers can also help students learn that mistakes are okay, and they can give feedback on the mistakes students make.
A couple of years ago, I tried to alleviate this getting it wrong, and would you just get a big giant X on your paper? I implemented a system where instead of getting it wrong, we called it, you made a silly mistake. And a silly mistake would be the tiniest error maybe at the end of their calculations where they forgot the negative was there, or they forgot that negative divided by negative makes a positive. That's another common error that students encounter in math. And that did wonders for my students because they were like, oh, I didn't get it wrong. I just made a silly mistake.
Since math relies on prior knowledge, teachers should ensure that all students understand the more basic ideas before moving on to advanced ideas.
When I teach math, I go back to the very basics to catch and gather all the students who may have missed that. For example, if I have a student that doesn't know how to solve two-step equations, I will go back to negative numbers, and we're going to do -1 plus -1. Because a two-step equation requires the negative numbers, and that's where students make the most mistakes in math, honestly, is with negative numbers, because they didn't get a firm grasp when they first learned it in 6th grade.
Teachers should engage students by asking them questions throughout a problem to get them to think.
When I teach in the classroom, I try to ask more questions. The more questions I ask makes them think. And when a student is stuck with a problem, I don't give the answer right away to them. Again, I ask a question so that they can think of what do they do at that point. That way it helps them use that same process later on, because I don't believe in just giving away the answer to them, because that's not how they learn. To me, I think they have to think. The thinking comes by asking more questions.
To help students with dyscalculia, teachers can allow them to use calculators to focus on more important concepts.
When I encounter a student like that, typically in the high school, we don't calculate anymore. They actually get a calculator. And instead, they have to learn those higher order concepts that are in algebra or geometry. So in order to learn those concepts, they do need to learn the underlying concepts, which helps them immensely because they're no longer calculating and they're learning the beginnings or the basics of that fundamental math issue.
Teachers can also visualize ideas for students with dyscalculia through coins, blocks, and puzzles, give them a list of the math formulas used in class, use concrete examples to connect math to real life, and they can use graphic organizers to break down math problems into steps. Those are all possible ways teachers can help students improve their skills. There are also a number of things you can do if you're a student who's struggling in math. To start, you can work to adopt a growth mindset and persevere.
Yeah, I've had to work really hard in high school to get where I am, but it's all worth it in the end, and you'll feel very proud of yourself if you do work hard.
I've struggled with the growth and the fixed mindset a couple of times, actually myself. Sometimes it gets hard and I think that I'm not gonna figure it out, but then I remember that you just have to keep trying, try to do things different ways and try to figure it out, and then you'll get it eventually.
When you adopt a growth mindset, you will learn to enjoy math.
I learned to like math by, first of all, learning it, because when you don't learn math, you don't understand it, you don't like it. But when you learn it, then that's when you learn to like it. So when you really take the time to understand it, you will learn to like it like how I did.
Along with that, it's important to remember that mistakes are part of the learning process.
I'm mostly just oh, it's a mistake and move on, because during math, you're gonna make a mistake, so you might as well just get over it. When I was younger, I'd always be hard on myself if I forgot something, but then as you grow older, you're just oh, it's gonna be a mistake. It's life, you're gonna mess up.
As a memory strategy, you can teach others the concepts you're learning in class.
Definitely, I think that teaching others as I was learning definitely helped me, because a lot of the times, if I didn't understand something, I would have to re-explain it, and then it made more sense in my head. So while I was teaching others, it would make more sense in my head as we moved along.
If you have math anxiety, you can find ways to cope in order to help you focus more.
For my IEP, I mostly get pulled into another room so a teacher can sit there and help me. Being able to listen to music during the test would also help me concentrate more, because I wasn't worried about what was going on around me.
It's more just however you need to, because for me personally, I just need to stop doing what I'm doing and go do something else to take my mind off of it, and then come back when I'm calm and when I'm collected, so that I can re-look at the problem with a fresh mind and be okay, I know what I'm doing, just do it again, and then do the problem fresh on a fresh piece of paper with nothing around you, and just figure it out over again.
Finally, if you're stuck on a problem, attending one-on-one tutoring is beneficial.
I think tutoring is pretty helpful. It's just extra time for me to figure out certain concepts and really get it down.
Tutoring does help you, especially in class. The teacher can't always just be at your desk, they have to help others. So that's why tutoring is good if you take the responsibility out of your time to learn, so it just all helps you at the end, so yeah.
Overall, if you're struggling with math, you should remember the growth mindset and persevere. Remember that it's okay to make mistakes, teach others in order to reinforce what you're learning, find ways to cope with math anxiety, and attend one-on-one tutoring.
While teachers are there to help you learn, it is ultimately up to you to put in the effort. Remember that no one is born a math person, everyone can improve their math skills if they work at it, and when you've improved, you will enjoy math. You can do this. I trust you.
She worked here for 11 years, and everybody knew Renita. They knew who she was. They knew her by name. She was hard and fast. She played by the rules, but at the same time, she knew when she needed to be gentle with students. And if someone was just having a bad day, just sit in her cart and listen. She made a lasting impact on this school, and it's sad that she's not here anymore.
Well, she meant a lot. She was, a lot of the kids could identify with her, and just, she could handle a lot of their problems. She could move on, do things like this and that. Take care of, get taken care of business was her job. And when she needed to, she did.
She was one of 12 children. She grew up in a house with 20 kids, and she was one of the most well-spoken, eloquent women I ever knew. She always had a moment for kids. She always had a moment for staff, whether that was just listening to you, praying for you, sharing her food with you. She was always there.
Renita was kind of a fun-loving person that had a great sense of humor and full of smiles each day.
She was a nice person, liked to talk to her. She'd come talk to you. She liked a lot of the students and stuff. She'd interact with them. But again, when she had to take care of business, she took care of business. So, yeah.
And just an incredibly intelligent woman who could quote anything. at this, drop of a hat. She was hilarious. She was a great friend, and she always was just making us laugh with silly things.
Renita meant a lot to me. She was always there when I needed some help down here. She was a great coworker, and was always there for a good joke, a good smile, just to make you smile as well.
Personally, how she affected me, Renita taught me so much about life and family and work. I call them Renita-isms, things that I quote Renita on, that I will live by for the rest of my life. And it's very special to have known her.
October 8th, 2017. A wildfire called Tubbs Fire had just begun. At the time, it was the most destructive wildfire in California. It affected the city of Santa Rosa the worst. This consisted of 8 different wildfires burning simultaneously in 8 different counties in NorCal. It has burned over 36,000 acres and led to the death of 22 people. Here is a first-hand account of Tubbs Fire evacuees.
And burned our house about 3 o'clock in the morning. In the meantime, the power went out early that night. There was a full moon, and when the power went out, we heard about a fire, and we saw a lot of traffic going up and down the road in front of our house because there were so many people evacuating.
Couldn't get any information, didn't know what was happening. We heard loud explosions. It sounded like jet airplanes taking off. It was the most incredible thing. And as it progressed, the wind got stronger and stronger, and pretty soon it looked like it was snowing and ashes were falling everywhere.
I left at 1:15. We woke up all the neighbors on our side of the street. There were 7 houses. We accounted for everybody on that side of the street. Across the street, I watched the deputy sheriffs knocking on doors before I left, so we assumed everybody at least got warning of it. That wasn't the case. Neighbors straight across the street were awakened by the sound of their own fire alarms inside the house as their house started to burn. They barely got out at about 2 o'clock in the morning, and they were picked up by a police car, walking in the dark with no light anywhere.
Your house getting burned down is a very tragic situation, especially when losing everything. Change is not always wanted, but it is definitely guaranteed in this situation.
Leaving my family and friends, it's hard. 50 years. I was not excited about moving here. I did not like Grass Valley, but I could see as we were in the cottage and he was working daily to try and rebuild our house, what it was doing to his health. His ankles were swelling, his stress level was off the charts, his blood pressure was off the charts, and so to me it was like there was no other answer. We just had to give up the plan to rebuild and move here.
Since the Tubbs Fire, there has been the Mendocino Complex Fire, August Complex Fire, and Dixie Fire. This is a pattern in California right now. Here's what you need to bring when in an evacuation.
They give you lists, 4-hour list, 2-hour list, 1-hour list, 15-minute list. The 15-minute list means grab your pink slips of your car, grab your cash, get your marriage licenses, birth certificates, get your pets, and get out quick. 4 hours means pictures, books, computers, stuff you really don't want to lose, you want to take with you. When the fire danger gets high enough and bad enough in the air, you just go ahead and pack your 4-hour boxes ahead of time. Pack your 2-hour boxes. Make a go bag with clothing, food, toothpaste.
Meds are definitely an important thing to try and take with you. because I stood in line and argued and carried on because don't you know they'd sent me 3 months worth of my medications right before the fire and they weren't about to replace them.
When you're out of your element after a fire, you can only go and get 10 days worth of medication at a time, and that's not easy to do.
Having a plan for evacuation is very crucial for your safety. Here's what you need to know when creating a plan.
When you were making a fire escape plan or a fire emergency plan, it should not include the use of phones, internet, Bluetooth, or any other thing like that. Don't plan on having any power in the house. You typically are going to have to open your garage door if you're going to drive away in a car. You have to open that by hand.
We're just now restarting again to explore social activities in the area.
We got out of there with our lives and our health, and we're happy for it.
Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you tomorrow at 5 p.m. with the school news finalist announcements.